Welcome everyone. Today we have a very special Diablo 4 rerolling and also crafting guide. Now in this video, this will be an extended and also upgraded version compared to our previous video. So if you haven't seen our previous video, definitely have a look because we talk about a lot of basics and a lot of method with rerolling and the OCCULTIST. Now similar to our previous video, I'll use a lot of live items and also rare items over here as an example to show you guys how I reroll and also how to get some really good stats. As one of the examples, notice I was able to get 4 different damage reduction on this particular chest, and there will be a lot of items you can reroll for, and there's a lot of different methods. So this video will be broken down into 2 parts. The first part, I'll go through with you guys the summary notes I have made for you guys over here. I have written some of the best ways of rerolling using the 1-3-5 method, and also different mindset and also different ways you can be saving a lot of gold. You should know those methods because this will save you a lot of gold. And also there's other tricks and also other tips I want to share with you guys because some of those methods, for example, in buying correct items can save you so much time, effort, energy, and also gold when you're rerolling. There's also additional tricks we learned from other players, including using different classes to be rerolling certain AFFIX that you cannot get on other classes. For example, sources will provide a lucky hit chance bonus while having a barrier, and this cannot be obtained by other class. So there's a lot of small tricks, small tips I want to share with you guys at the end of the video. Now if you haven't seen our previous video, you can see we do have the previous notes over here, and the guys at Mobilitics has helped me to put this on the website as well. So definitely check out the previous video guys if you want the basics to rerolling, and this video will be an updated version of the previous rerolling guide. So I have seen your guys' comments saying the video is a little longer. I usually try to give you guys as much detail as I can, but I also try to make it concise if I can. So coming over to rerolling guide, let's start with the notes first. One of the biggest thing guys is I forgot to stress out in the previous video, but I really want to stress it out here. There are multiple methods of rerolling, but the first thing is you should always roll on the rare item first. So here I have rare items, right? I also have legendaries that is fully upgraded. So what you want to do is you want to be rolling on the rare item that is not upgraded to max 5 out of 5, like the ones over here. Notice this is upgraded to 5 out of 5. You also don't want to be rolling on items that have converted themselves into legendaries. That is after crafting the rare items into legendaries. You should be rolling on the rare items by themselves. And this is essential because if you miss the order guys, you'll be paying 2 times amount of gold every time you click. And this is very, very expensive. Now the second important tip I want to share with you guys is that when you are rerolling, you should be picking no change. So I'll give you guys a quick example over here. Let's say if I'm rerolling a particular item and once I click enchant, what's going to happen is there will be 3 options. And I'll show you guys live in the example. Let's say I'll use this sword for the example, right? I'm going to reroll the basic skills damage and I want to reroll into strength. And I'll click over here and this will be bonded, right? And I got strength, not bad. So if I didn't get the strength I wanted, I can click no change. And this will minimize the amount of gold I'll have to pay for rerolling items on the next click. And this is essential. Now just a second example over here, notice that the strength is not the top row. I know for sword, the strength can roll much higher. So I'm going to click no change even though this has gotten me onto strength because I want a higher row of strength. This is a little greedy, but maybe shouldn't do that, right? So I'll still click on strength. I'll not be greedy. So once I click on strength, the price went up by 5 times. But if you click no change, the price increase will be a little bit less. So be aware of this. And notice the strength is not the top row. I'm looking for at least 120 and this one is 102. So the hidden trick over here is that if you don't need the stat that you're rerolling and you're getting, you should select no change for the minimum reroll cost. And this will increase the incremental cost of your next future clicks. Now do be careful guys, if you do start to click no change a lot, one of the mistakes I made is I was clicking no change for over many clicks. And eventually I didn't get anything because I keep being greedy, I keep trying to get the lower cost and I didn't even take the damage reduction I was getting. And eventually I missed out on a lot of rolls because of this. So do be careful guys, if you click no change and you keep getting greedy, eventually nothing changes. Now the next tip is that have a budget set for your rerolling for each of the items. For example, if you bought the item for 3 million gold or if you know the item is worth about 2 to 3 million gold, you should not be rerolling more than 3 million gold onto one item. Now, if you haven't seen our trading guide, I'll be making more trading guide for you guys to understand the price of your items, how to buy items, and also how to sell items. because it's very important, because once you start with a new item, you start to enjoy the super cheap rerolling cost. So notice that this sword now cost me 500,000 gold to reroll, right? A different item will only cost 70,000 for the first roll. And this is very important to know and very important to take advantage of. If you start to roll on items that cost 2 million gold, it costs like 6 million gold, this will quickly take away your gold very, very fast. Now you guys can see that I'm currently sitting on a lot of gold. I'll be making a lot of gold making guide for you guys to teach you how to make this amount of gold and how to have a really good time in Diablo 4 before the season and after season 1. Now over here, a very special term I want to refer is called sunk cost. If you guys haven't heard of it, definitely have a look. This is an economics term, which means that even if you have rolled 10 million gold on one piece of the gears, if the gear is not desirable and the cost is so high to click again, you should be avoiding this gear and start to try a new gear. So the investment of gold that is wasted on these gears should not affect your decision for future rollings. And I have a lot of examples over here. All of the pens over here, they have failed me and they are not worth it. Notice these pens, which ones? These pens, I went deeper. I went so deep, it cost me 2 million to reroll. Most of the pens I stopped before 500,000. And this is very important. This one I went deep to 1 million gold, right? And this amulet, I went so deep, it's 4 million gold per click. And those become sunk cost. I've wasted over 50 million to 100 million gold because of those items and other items. And I really want to warn you guys, don't get trapped by how much gold you've spent, because those costs are not worth to be rerolling on those costs. So it is much better, guys, to try to buy a new item or find a new item and start rolling on those. Now, on the topic of finding new items, I want to introduce a method and also a rule for myself for rerolling. This is called the 1-3-5 method. So the first cost of rerolling on any of the items is super cheap. The example we had over here is that rerolling on this sword only costs 70,000, but the second roll on the two-handed sword will cost me over 50,000, and this is because I select the stat of cost. So what that means is, firstly, you don't want to be rerolling on bad or cheap or poorly rolled items more than 3 times. So notice here I have some two-handed sword, and I've rolled those items for 3 times, and I haven't really got a good stats on those sword, and I'm about to give up on those items. Even though this is a top roll for all stat, notice my critical damage and also vulnerability damage are not the highest rolls, and those items are not worth a lot of investment in terms of gold and in terms of legendary effects. So firstly, find yourself some decent gears that is not too poorly rolled, because once you start rolling, you'll be spending at least 1 to 2 million gold on those items, and eventually you waste a lot more gold on those cheap items, which might not be ideal. Now the focus over here is to keep the cost of clicking under 500,000 if you can, and after 5 clicks I usually stop. So this means, notice that those pens over here, they're kind of below 500,000 gold, and some of them I went too deep, right? Those are the mistakes. But most of them, I try to keep them under 500,000 gold. And if they don't roll into anything I wanted or anything great, I'll give up on those. And this is one of my methods to save a lot of gold. So what we're doing is, for most of the items that I'm unsure of, I do the 1-3-5 method. So I either reroll once, 3 times, or 5 times. Now sometimes you might be buying very good items or very expensive items that you know is worth over 10 or 20 million gold. And this is when, for the pricey or the more rare items, you can go deeper. For my example, which I'll show you guys, is some of those rings I bought are over 10 million gold, and I really want to roll into a good stat, and it's likely I would go deep onto those rings. Now what you guys are going to see on the second part when I show the live demonstration is I have bought multiple swords, which is about 4 to 5 million gold each. And by buying those items, this allows me to enjoy the lower reroll cost with the 1-3-5 method. I plan to roll 5 times onto each of those swords and pick the ones with the best stats. Now I can have just one of the sword, and I can reroll that sword for 15 times, but the cost of clicking onto that sword will quickly exceed 10 million gold in total. So in reality, it is much cheaper for me to reroll multiple items. And even though the item will cost me a bit to invest to buy those items, after rolling 5 times, ideally, I can get some really good stats. Now, one of the most important tips I want to share with you guys is buying correct stats on your items. So you can be buying on the official Discord or come over to our Majestic Discord to be buying for items. And I have a special guide available for you guys about buying. So you can see there's a lot of tabs over here that you can start to buy on our official Discord. To unlock those tabs, you come over to the row selected and you come over to the boss channels. You click the tabs you want to select to be buying and selling items. It's very important you click those so they become available. I'll have a full guide for you guys very soon about this one. So the example I have is I can list for one of those items, and over here, this is the one of the posts I made. I'm trying to buy two-hand and also one-handed sword. I'm telling everyone my budget is about 30 million, and those are the stats I'm looking for. Notice after posting, a lot of players are messaging me, and I'm replying to them how we buy items, how those works. So it is quite important, guys, for you to be learning how to buy items, because as you're gonna see over here, this makes a big difference. So for the example of the two-handed sword I'm looking for critical damage, vulnerability damage, or maybe core damage, or maybe strength. And here, what I can notice is, I know that for certain, stats, those will be rolled differently. For me, it's really hard to reroll into critical damage or vulnerability damage, or even core damage. So ideally, I want to buy an item that has those affixes already on item, so I can reroll for stat, or maybe for all stat. So notice that this is the 756, this is going to be a stat stick, which I'll make a future guide about this one. Notice this has rolled core damage, critical damage, vulnerability damage, those are quite high rolls. And in comparison, if I was trying to reroll on one of my own items, try to get core damage, and this was extremely harder. Because what you're going to see later is, it's much easier to get stats on the weapons over the critical damage, vulnerability damage, or core damage. It's much better we actually buy a weapon with this way and roll the stats we wanted. And this is one of the examples over here as well. You can see that this item, I don't have critical damage. And it's likely this item would cost me a lot of gold to roll into critical damage. And that might not even be high, right? So ideally, if you're looking for some really good stats, especially if you're using a mace or any other weapon for the two-hand, you can use this method to be buying the correct stats, so you don't have to roll for a much more difficult stat. So finding and also buying correct items with certain affixes can save you a lot of gold when you're rerolling. And at the moment, I don't think this is confirmed, but for me, a lot of my friends are noticing that you get more critical chance rerolls on the rings. You also get more priming stats on the weapons and most of the gears, like for me it's strength and also all stats. For the gloves, you tend to get more attack speed, and for the boots, you tend to get different types of movement speed. Now finally, as one of the special tips I want to share with you guys is that you can be rerolling on different classes that can give you a boost of stats. The example we showed over here is one of the necromancer that was able to clear tier 100 nightmare dungeons by getting a sources. So he started alt character with sources and used the level 1 sources to roll the lucky hit chance onto the helmet that provided him with lucky hit chance while having a barrier. And he's a necromancer that runs with barriers. And this allows him to trigger more corpses and deal more damage. So if you're a class that is looking for lucky hit chance, you can be rolling on the sources, alt character and get more lucky hit when you have a barrier. This can be great for necromancer or even rogues that goes with the barrier build. Now at the moment, I'm still looking for ways of collecting more information on this particular part, and once we have more information, I'll make a collective guide for you guys to get more even hidden tricks and also method with rerolling. Now, if you guys haven't subscribed, it is a really good time to do so, because I'll be covering tons of Diablo 4 related topics and also videos and also guides. We'll be looking to the top meta builds, non-meta builds, leveling up, and also Paragon tricks. We're also looking to the latest events and also official updates, and also changes to different characters and also different builds in the game. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and also turn the notification on, because a lot of you who are watching the videos have not subscribed. You can see 80% of the viewers who are watching our videos have not subscribed, so make sure you subscribe to stay tuned for the latest update for Diablo 4. Okay, now coming over to my second part. Hopefully the first part is not too long for you guys. So you can see that here there's a lot of items I don't plan to roll anymore because they're just bad items to start off with, the stats are not high enough. And also here there's a lot of items I have given up because it'll cost me too much to be rerolling and they're not worth it. And what I want to show you guys is, yes, you don't want to be rerolling on the legendary gears or the fully upgraded gears. And those I have rolled and have upgraded, and I'll stop rerolling on those. So what I'm going to do on this live example is I will be trying to roll into my weapons into strength and all stats. This is a new meta my friend shared with me, and I plan to go into the Korean meta. So the Korean meta is going with more stats. And here I'll be trying to reroll my sword, which I bought 3 of those, into all stats and also strength. Notice I purposely bought vulnerability and also critical damage sword, so this way I'm rolling into a much more likely chance with strength. And similarly as for the rings, I'm trying to reroll into critical chance. But if I don't get critical chance, I can settle for something else, but ideally I want 4.5 or even higher critical chance on both of my rings. Notice I also bought some spare rings in case I don't get what I wanted. I can try on those with my luck. So let's get started. You guys remember on the first part, we rolled once and kept the strength? I don't think I should have kept the strength, because now the rerolling cost is like 500,000. I'm really looking for 120 plus strength, and I'll stop on this weapon. And this is gonna be my stat stick. This means this has really high rolls, and I'll use this one to boost my stats while using my two-handed mace as a main damage dealing weapon. Let's see if I'm lucky. So here, I won't take the 0108, I'll just take no change. Oh, yes, perfect. So notice that by taking no change, the cost did not go that much higher. You guys could pause in the replay. But yes, I'm happy with 124. Now, what I want to recommend is don't go for the perfect stat. If I go for 2 more strength, this might cost me another 100 or maybe 1000. This might cost me another 1 million, maybe 10 million gold to get the last 2 strength. I'm happy with this one. So this is a really nice roll after 3 tries. Now coming over to the one-handed weapon. I really want to roll onto strength onto those. I want to pick the best ones. This is a 20% with 28%. And this one, they are pretty good, right? So I want to pick the best 2 out of them. And I can resell the last one if I don't need it. So let's start with this one. So I'm going to reroll on this. And I did buy this from the rogues. Notice sometimes you can buy different items from different classes. Now because strength is going to be the likely roll on the weapons, that's why I bought the other stats. So here, let's give it a try. First go, 50 strength. I actually don't know what the range for the strength is. This is the awkward part, right? I don't think 50 is a high roll, to be honest. So I want to click no change, but I need to know the range of the rolls, right? So let's have a look over here. So this is a 74 to 95. Now if we have 95 by the maximum roll, I think this is at least 50. Let's just take it. I'll just take it. Let's have a look. So the 50 is not the maximum. It is actually the minimum. I should not take 50. But now knowing that we can roll up to 63, I'm looking for 63s. So this is my second try. I'm not going to take the 51. We're going to go replace. And we'll go one more. 49, no. So this weapon I have rolled 3 times. Notice that this is close to 500,000 now. So I'm happy to go with this weapon for 3 more times or 2 more times. If no luck, we'll move on to the next one. 49, no. 51, no, I'm not going to change. So notice that my price of enchantment is not increasing by a lot, simply because I did not pick any of the other stats after picking strength. I should not have picked this one as well. So now moving over to the second weapon, which is the backup weapon. I'll take away the distance damage, and let's try with this for 5 times. 53, I know I don't need 53. I want about, at least 58. So no change. Notice that the cost is not that high because I picked no change. 54, oof, 54, should I, guys? So let's look at the range. The range goes from, how much is that? What did I pick? The range goes from 49 to 63. I think I can get lucky here. 59, perfect. There you go. So I was being conservative. I really want to pick something that is much higher end of the rolls. And I think 54 is too low, right? So here, we have the sword ready. Now I'm left with 2 swords. Ideally, I want 2 swords for each of the hand, right? So this is my last backup. And we're going to go this one. Oh, 58. Perfect. So now this is a choice. I know 58 is slightly above average. Let's see if I can get higher. I'm happy to do 2 more times. Notice I'm sticking to the 135. I do once, then I do 3. 2 more times, then I do 2 more times. 59. The game's like, hey man, 300,000 gold for 1 click. So I do 1 more click if I get lucky. If I don't get lucky, I stop at 3. So I don't think I get lucky. Oh my god, I got lucky. Okay, we're happy now. So yeah, 61 strength out of the 63. So notice that, guys, coming back to a guide, we're doing the 135 method. First time is very cheap, then I do 3 times, then I do 5 times, then I pretty much stop. So what that means is I have succeeded in rolling my weapons. And here I am not going to use this one, maybe in the future if I needed it, but those 3 weapons are ready. Now do keep in mind, guys, one of the reasons I'm getting some really good rolls is because I bought the correct items. I'm rolling on the most likely stats, and those are the primary stats on the weapons. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to roll critical chance on the rings, which should also be pretty likely. but you know, this can range all over the place, right? So this is a really nice ring I want to buy, and I want to use this one for pushing for high nightmare dungeons. So let's see how many critical chance we get. And notice guys, 1.8, don't get baited by this. So first try, second try, see? This method works, and if you buy correct stats, you can roll perfectly onto your items with very minimal cost. But if you bought something else, like critical chance, you could try to roll for critical damage or vulnerability damage, you'll be here wasting so much more gold. So coming over to my final ring. Again guys, I'm rolling a critical chance. One go. Oh, 4.2. This is... I'll take it. I won't be greedy because I might not get it sometimes. This is my first go, right? See, sometimes you just won't get it. When you don't get it, just pick no change, of course. So 3 tries. Because sometimes you just get unlucky. I do 2 more tries. See, 3.8. It's a little tricky sometimes. I think 4.2 is on the high end. Or 4.6, I'll stop here. Perfect. So 5 tries on the ring. 1, 3, 5 method, right? And yes, I can get 0.4% more critical chance, but ideally, well, I'm rich, but I don't want to waste gold. I want to show you guys conservatively how to do this properly. And yes, guys, we'll be having more gold making guide to share with you guys how to make more gold in the game and how to save gold. Because you can have a lot more gold, you can be wasting so much more gold if you don't know how to reroll. And this is essential. And here we go, guys. The live example shows you I can get 5 perfect items in under not that much gold spent and not that much reroll using my method and the ways I showed you guys. And my backup weapons, this one kind of failed and I didn't even have to use my backup rings. And this is a really important guide to be sharing with you guys. So if you have friends that is playing Diablo 4, make sure you share this guide with them as well. Because I really spent a lot of time planning, making, testing for you guys. And you can see a lot of pens were wasted. I keep trying to roll into a perfect pens. And eventually I got 2 different ones. One is with damage reduction to distance, one is with damage reduction to close. So I may maybe switch. So maybe I can switch in my pens against different enemies. Let's see in the future videos. Now if you guys enjoyed this video, oh boy, I spent a lot of time making this one, make sure you hit a like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more future guides for Diablo 4. I want to dive into every mechanics, every part of the game more deeper, but I only have limited time by myself. But slowly I'll be making more guides and more quality content for you guys. So if you guys haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe because I'm having a really good time with Diablo 4 and we'll be having a lot of more content, a lot of more builds, a lot of more guides for Diablo 4 to come. Now before you go, and if you guys didn't know, we have a new YouTube channel. And if you guys haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe and check out the behind the scenes and also fun clips and also more stories about us. And then you get to know me a little more personally instead of just reading the news and also the games, right? So I want to share a little bit more with you guys. So make sure you check this channel out if you're interested about Matt and also Uni. She's really funny too. And she's really shy. So I want to give her a surprise and do a shout out for the new channel to get some subscribers. Thank you guys. I'll see you guys next time.